How's it going, guys? This is Travis from Nashville Airsoft. Today we are going to be doing a video review and install guide to the PolarStar jack. So starting off with your package, you'll get your instruction guide, which will have some settings in there, your FCU, your trigger board, the actual jack drop-in unit, cool sticker, and your FCU cable. Alright guys, so we are going to show you how to install your jack unit into, obviously, your gearbox. So first thing we're going to do is got a basic BFC gearbox. We pulled out this 416. So we are going to remove, obviously, your cylinder, assembly, piston, spring, etc. One thing I will point out, you will need to keep your spring guide if you're going to be installing this in anything besides a BFC, most likely, since your buffer tube screw typically will screw into the back of your spring guide. You will need to keep your spring guide for your buffer tube to go into. So unlike the Wolverine, which has a little screw assembly which would sit here in the back, you will need to keep that. So that's one way, I suppose they're keeping the cost down, is letting you retain your spring guide. So obviously with the BFCs, it's got the screw point here, so we don't have to worry about keeping that in this particular unit. So we'll pull out our gears as well, pull out our trigger. I've already removed the screws from the switch assembly and the cutoff lever just to kind of speed this up a little bit. So the next thing you're going to do, obviously, is install the trigger board and plug up the wires to it and so forth. One thing I will point out is here, this arm right here, if you can kind of see how it sticks up a little bit, just be cautious with that. Be careful when you're putting this thing together. That can obviously be ripped off pretty easily if you're not careful. It is a little bit different compared to the standard PolarStar engines and how they use their selector system. So you'll obviously plug the small one up to the small socket, our FCU cable to its socket, and then we'll drop this in. Alright, so one thing I will point out with this jack unit that I really like is that it does have a toolless disassembly, so you can actually just screw this off to access the unit. So obviously that comes right off, your nozzle comes right out, and then this particular portion as well comes out. That's a really nice feature here with this, the fact that it doesn't require any kind of tools to take this apart, so that you can lube it up. Also too, makes it a lot easier just for kind of opening the unit up, cleaning it, checking for debris underneath those O-rings. That makes that really nice function here that PolarStar has put in. Alright, so we're going to drop your jack unit into place, run our hose through the bottom. Since this will be rear wired, we're going to be running it through the back channel and put our trigger in as well. So here we go, guys. We've got the jack unit installed into our 416 lower. I'm going to put on the buffer tube assembly as well. Alright guys, one last thing to point out, just a little small tip after getting this thing together. I wish the data cable was just a little bit longer. As you can see, I routed it straight through the gearbox, so plenty of wire should be coming through, and I essentially have to put the FCU in first and then hook up the wire. So anytime you want to make any adjustments or anything like that, you're going to need to disconnect your wire from the FCU to get the FCU out, hook up your battery, make your setting adjustments, and then reinsert the FCU, the wire, and so forth. Obviously, that's going to put a lot of stress kind of on these connectors. You can put a little bit of hot glue on there to definitely make them a lot stronger, but would definitely wish that was just a little bit longer, just because that's still just a lot of connecting, disconnecting, especially if you're tuning it, here and there for different types of settings. Alright guys, we're going to be chronoing the gun right now with the .3s at 100 PSI with a Firebase rig. So, as you guys can see, we're getting about 360 to 364, 365, 363, so extremely consistent as far as our shots. Again, these are with .3s at 100 PSI on a Firebase rig. Here we go, guys. We have our bronze and black PolarStar jack installed.